let's take a look at the politics of today. We're analyzing the stalemate between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. Let's run the videos.
Ambia hawa watu wamezoea tabia mbaya. Unajua waliletea kisirani Moi, mpaka Moi akafanyia hawa cooperation. Wakakuja wakazungua Kibaki, mpaka Kibaki akapatia hawa nusu mkate. Wakakuja wakazungusha Uhuru, mpaka Uhuru akapatia hawa handshake. Hii serikali ya hasla, wanafikiri hii serikali ya hasla watapata chochote kwa hii serikali? Watapata chochote hapa? Mimi nimewaambia wapande washuke. Waende kulia, waende kushoto. Waende mbele, warudi nyuma. Hakuna handshake, hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna hiyo wanatafuta.
So Collins, the state of politics in this country is, well, where it is right now. And the bipartisan talks are supposed to be happening between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, but of course now we're seeing it being dragged out. Tomorrow they're supposed to meet, but the Kenya Kwanza team has said that not be available. So what's your take on this and the noise on handshake?
Well, I think that there's a lot of confusion that is here from especially the Kenya Kwanza side. Azimio, in my view, were ready for the talks, but they seem to have been scuttled by the Kenya Kwanza side because if you hear the way the president is speaking, it's as though he feels that the Azimio side is looking for handshake.
Isn't that what they're looking for?
I may not have my facts right on it, but I don't think that is what they are looking for, because the former prime minister has come out clearly and said that they do not want a share of this government. In fact, they have made it very clear that they are the rightful winners, all right? So they wouldn't want to get into a system that they believe was rigged against them.
So why have talks with a group that you do not agree to the presidency? Does it make sense?
Well, if you look at the way things are right now, even if the servers were to be opened, that's what they've been calling for. There is nothing that we can change right now, because the Supreme Court pronounced itself and that was final. And at first, of course, the former Prime Minister was a bit skeptical about it, but I think the pressure that we have from outside, because the former President of Nigeria is the one who came in and tried to bring the two together. And up to this particular moment, the former Prime Minister has been adamant in recognizing the presidency of William Ruto. So slowly, with the pressure that is coming from partners that we have outside, I think is what has made him to tone down and now, come to the table and call for negotiations.
There's a question I always like asking about the predictability of the opposition leader, Raila Odinga. Yes. But before that, let's talk about the benefits of the handshake before and after. You've listened to the video by President Ruto saying in Moi's time he complained and he was given cooperation. In Mwai Kibaki's time he was given nusu mkate. And in Uhuru's time he was given handshake. So why is the Kenya Kwanza dreading a handshake? And what could be the benefits of the handshake before and right now? Okay,
so if you look at the kind of politics we have in this country, we have to be very clear about it, because I looked at the issues that Azimio have and the issues that Kenya Kwanza brought to the table. And of course, they talk of cost of living. They talk of other issues that touch on common mwananchi. But in my view, there are only two things that this discussion is going to center on. All right. Number one is going to center on embedment of the office of the official opposition leader in law. And number two is going to center on the issue of reconstituting IBC. The rest, in my view, are sideshows. Because we know our politicians. Cost of living has just been brought there as a decoy. There is nothing that is going to be discussed on the table. That's my feeling.
And a decoy from the Azimio team?
From the Azimio team, all right? Okay. So, if you ask me what is going to happen, if you look at you have asked about the importance of the handshake. Yeah. The importance of the handshake is in two dimensions. Number one is on the common mwananchi, all right? The common mwananchi is going to feel settled, because all these hulabaloo that we have had brought in because of the demonstrations and all that is what has led us to where we are sometimes as a country, because you realize that we have had reports on destruction of property, businesses closing down, and people cannot continue with their daily businesses. But now with the handshake, I think the political climate is somehow toned down and people can go about in their businesses. So in terms of the common mwananchi, they'll feel settled. They feel that they can now go about their businesses without any disruption. All right? And there will be no much noise, and the government can also deliver on its side. And the other dimension is on the side of the politicians. All right? On the side of the politicians, they want to be part of government. No politician feels safe outside the government. The other day, Musalia Mudavadi talked about the fact that being in the opposition for 5 years is such a very long time. But being in government, 5 years is a short time, because they realize the importance of being in government. So my feeling is that the talks will center on those particular issues, and the benefits of the handshake just comes in indirectly for the common mwananchi, that they're able now to go about their businesses. But truth be told, from where I sit, I don't feel that the issues of the common mwananchi will be discussed in this entire process.
Interesting. So the former premier gave an ultimatum of 30 days to have the talks. So what should Kenyans expect after the 30 days have lapsed?
When you started, you talked about predictability of the opposition leader. And he's not new to giving ultimatums. He has done that before, and he has got back to the street. So I think the president has learned him, and he knows him better than any other person, because of course he has worked with him before. And of course, if these 30 days elapse without the talks happening, I feel that they will still go back to the streets. All right?
Will it be as effective?
They may not be as effective as they were, because slowly Kenyans are also getting tired. You tell us, let's go to the demonstrations, people die, then you withdraw it, then after some few days, let's go back to the... So I think there will be that exhaustion from the public, all right? Because they will feel as though they are being played. Anytime these politicians want them to come in, they just come in handy, but they do not feel the net effect of it. So the maandamano may be back, but on the effectiveness of it, I don't feel as though they will be more effective as they had been before.
So from a previous story that we read, according to the report by Central Bank of Kenya, food prices have gone down. But one of the facets, or one of the agenda points of action of Azimio in this upcoming bipartisan talks, is the reduction of the cost of living. So what is the noise Azimio is making about all this, if we have the report that states that the cost of living, the food price is actually going down? What's the noise about?
Well, there was that report that we have just seen some moments ago, talking about the inflation rates. And I think sometimes the report that we usually have by the Central Bank of Kenya may not capture, it's just a small percentage of it going down. It's not that we have all these food prices that have been high going down all of a sudden, all right? We are talking of sugar right now is on a high note. We are talking of 500 shillings for 2 kgs. That's what Kenyans are crying for. We have talked about unga for some time right now, and it's still at a higher price.
But they said the fertilizer that they've provided is going to allow for food to go down.
Yes, well, we have heard about the issue of subsidized fertilizer, but any time a Kenyan goes to the supermarket or the mall, the prices of unga is still high.
So it's cosmetic.
So in my view, I may feel it's cosmetic, because it's not really speaking to what the common mwananchi is going through down there. Subsidizing fertilizer is a good thing, but how long will this take? All right, we want a solution that is long lasting and that will be able to reduce the entire cost of living, not one particular area. Because when you look at that report, I think it's just a small bit of it. It's not that we have really gotten there. It may be a process, but some of these issues need to be sorted out one by one, so that at least Kenyans feel that the government is doing something about it. So that if it is unga, let's not just have political pronouncements that in 2 weeks the unga prices will go down. It's now almost 1 year since this regime took power, and we still have these prices. They keep hiking every now and then. So we hope to have a long-lasting solution, even despite the report that we have from the Central Bank of Kenya.
So maybe I just want you to be clear and clarify why the Kenya Kwanza government is dreading a handshake. And they've been inundating us with this, there'll be no handshake. Does it mean, could it be, can we allude that the Azimio team reached out for possible talks of a handshake? And why do they dread the handshake so much?
Well, they're coming from a point of information because of what had happened before during the Uhuru Kenyatta regime. That's their feeling. The president feels that what happened in the last regime is that when the former prime minister came into government, the government lost focus and it did not look into the issues that were facing Kenyans, and they shifted their focus to something else. We had BBI coming in play at that particular time, and they went into campaigning and all that at the expense of the the needs of the Kenyan people. So I think the president feels that if we were to allow in Raila Odinga into government, then they have to work out on a plan that they are going to have him inside that particular government, and they will spend more time discussing on the positions that they're going to give to maybe the former prime minister and his allies, and that can, make Kenyans lose trust in them. Remember, the president has been very clear from the onset that he's not going to have any handshake. So the moment he shifts now and decides to have this handshake, Kenyans will see him, one, as a coward, all right? And he'll say that he has been, he has been countered by the former prime minister, and he has now, bowed to pressure and allowed him to come in place. Number two, they will see him as dishonest. Dishonest in the sense that initially he has criticized handshake. He has criticized the former president for getting into a working relationship or pact with the former prime minister, and now he's doing the same thing. So he doesn't want to appear dishonest. He doesn't want to appear as though he has been, pushed to the corner, and he just wants to make it clear that yes, we may talk and solve these issues, but without you being in government.
So you've talked about the president criticizing the handshake. One of the BBI recommendations was to create the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary that the Kenya Kwanza government is currently enjoying. So who is fooling who?
I think what usually happens, politics is sometimes about interest, all right, and everything rotates around it. So the president was saying what was convenient then, okay? And now the shoe is on this side, and he has all these people who are surrounding him, who supported him, and they want a share of this government. So the only thing he could do was to create that particular position. And by the way, from the onset, very many people criticized him. They told him, you told us that it is not about leaders sharing positions, it's about now dealing with the common mwananchi. But what we saw was contrary to what he has always said. What I keep talking about, the deception that we have in the political space, that politicians say something, but the next minute they change and say something different from what they sort of believe in, because I don't think they have some kind of ideology that they believe in they can change any time. But we expected the president to stick to what he had talked about, that it's not about sharing positions, but that does not come out clearly, because we have seen positions being shared in terms of the CAS. We have seen the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary being brought in, and it's a clear extension of what we had in the BBI. So there is usually that deception, and that is the kind of political system that we have in our country.
So as we wrap up this interview, this interesting political interview, what is your take to dismantle or to dismantle this stalemate that is going on? What should both teams do?
Both teams should tone down on the rhetorics. All right. Every now and then, this team says this, the other team counters by saying the other. They should now tone down, because they seem to be competing on who says what better than the other, and that is where the problem is. If they have decided to go and talk, let them find a space. Let them go to Safari Park, Serena Hotel, and sit there, talk, because Kenyans do not want to hear this noise anymore. I think as Kenyans, we are tired. All right, we are 1 year after the election, and we're still talking about elections. We're still talking about issues that were sorted a long time ago. Kenya needs to move forward. So if these politicians have to talk, they should start talking. The conversation that the president should be having is on reducing the cost of living. He shouldn't be answering to every allegation that is made by the former prime minister. The former prime minister should also stop giving these ultimatums. If they have decided to talk, because that's what they tell us they have, let them find a neutral person, and the neutral person is there in the name of Obasanjo, who is bringing them together to the negotiating table. Let them discuss whatever they want to discuss, as long as the issues of Kenyans will be handled at the end of the day. Whatever they agree in terms of IBC, in terms of leadership positions that they have, is up to them. But what the Kenyan people want is stability, political stability, and they want a good economy that they are able to invest and continue doing their daily work here in the country without any kind of challenges. Yes.